Hey everybody, Chris here from It's Mead Made, and okay, so let's just get into this. Have you ever been hanging out on the internet and run across those people that say you should never, ever do these things with your airbrush? And you could almost feel them wagging their finger at you of just like, don't. But is this advice really as black and white as they make it seem? So I've been airbrushing for a long time now, and I have some experiences doing some of these things. Well, all but one, because it has some extreme health consequences with it, and I'll get into that. But I'm going to go over 5-ish of the most common pieces of advice that I have read over the internet of the things that you should never, ever do with your airbrush. And yes, I did say 5-ish because I added a bonus piece of dangerous advice that's just too important to skip over, but I'm going to get into that later. Anyway, I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions about these topics, and you can be the judge. You may not agree with me on some of these topics, but that's kind of the fun of it, right? So the first piece of advice out there, you should never use cheap craft paints like this in your airbrush. Because if you do, you're going to get crappy results. And the discussions around this topic can honestly get pretty intense at times. And if you've been around for any amount of time, you know that I regularly use hobby craft paints in all of my tutorials. I use craft paints and just about any other paint for that matter in every single one of my airbrushes, and guess what? Without any issue. I even have used wall paint from the hardware store with zero problems in my airbrush. Now the secret is preparing your paints for use in the airbrush and making sure you have the proper viscosity and PSI for your specific airbrush you're using. And honestly, this is where it can get tricky, especially for those beginners out there. Because one of my most popular and viewed videos is how to thin craft paints like this for your airbrush. And I'll put a link to that down below and up here for you. But so many people struggle with this because if you don't get it right, it can lead to clogs, watery paint, and a bunch of other problems. I get so many questions when it comes to thinning my paints and PSI for my airbrush that I created a tool to help me with both of these, and that saves me a ton of guesswork and time. And I call it my PSI Range Finder, and I'll go ahead and put a link to this down below. So my verdict on this is use craft paints, use inks, use wall paint, use airbrush paint. Just make sure that you're thinning them properly and getting the right viscosity and PSI. This next point baffled me when I first heard it, and due to the fact of the misinformation was coming from an experienced airbrush instructor addressing a group of brand new people to airbrushing. I actually had to take like a mental rewind of what was just said, and based on the looks all around the room of other experienced airbrush artists, I wasn't the only one confused. He told them never remove the needle from your airbrush. He was saying that it would destroy your airbrush if you did it. And then he said, well, you can physically remove the needle, but you really shouldn't ever do that. And I have run across this in some forums of people that are just getting into airbrushing, and look, I totally get why you would say that to somebody that is very new to airbrushing. Now, some of the students were handling an airbrush for the very first time in this class. His goal was to basically to prevent them from bending the needle or messing with it, and I get that, but I strongly disagree with this, because you must know how to safely remove your needle to be able to properly clean your airbrush. If you leave the needle inside the airbrush when you're doing a deep clean, you won't be able to completely clean it out, and that will leave paint inside, which can cause clogging issues, and it'll cause your needle to stick in the airbrush. The key is to take the needle out without bending it or breaking it. So if you take it out, handle it with care and gently lay it down somewhere, like on a desk, but just make sure it doesn't roll off the desk and hit the ground, because that can completely destroy the tip of a needle if it falls and hits the ground. And how do I know this? Well, when I was cleaning my airbrush for the first time, I laid my needle down and it rolled off the table, and just take it from me and learn from my mistakes. You want to just handle your needle with care. It's okay to take it out. Just be careful with it. Now, if you do bend your needle, there is advice out there and even tools for fixing a bent needle. They say you can bend your needle back or you can sharpen it and get it back into working shape. Which brings me to my next point of advice. If your needle is bent, don't try to fix it. Just get a new one. I strongly agree with this advice. More people tend to agree on this than disagree when it comes to this topic, but it's worth noting that you'll likely find remedies out there to fix a bent needle while cruising around on the internet. Now, if you do find your needle gets bent, do not put it back into your airbrush. I cannot stress this enough, because you can possibly damage the internals of your airbrush. This was a mistake that I personally made the first time I bent a needle, and it cost me more than just the cost of a needle. So the moral of the story is, if you bend a needle, just throw it out and get a new one. I keep new needles on hand at all times, so my workflow doesn't get interrupted. Granted, I barely bend needles anymore, but accidents still happen. But when they do, my airbrush is fixed in a matter of minutes, and I'm back to airbrushing. And this leads me to my next point I've read multiple times across the internet and websites. And that's, you don't need to know every piece and part of your airbrush before you start using it. When I first got started, I thought using an airbrush would be similar to my car. I didn't need to know and understand all of the engine parts under the hood in order to drive it. And in a way, I was right. I used my airbrush for a good while, not knowing anything about the internal bits or pieces and parts, and it went great. Until it didn't. I started getting clogs and issues, and it required me to completely disassemble my airbrush and tear it down to its components. Now, am I saying you need to know every single part of an airbrush? No, not at all. You don't necessarily need to know what every piece is called, but as long as you know where every piece goes and generally how it works, that's a really good starting point. Now, years later, I now know every piece and part of my airbrush and exactly how they work. This is extremely important when things start to go wrong. I even teach this as a foundational part of my course. And side note, I still do not know every single piece and part of my car, but I'm still working on that one. And speaking of breaking down your airbrush, you will need to know how to do this if you're a creative type like me and you easily get distracted. Why? Because even though you shouldn't, you will at some point forget to clean your airbrush and leave paint in the cup to dry. It's not ideal, but it's very good advice to clean your airbrush when you are finished using it. I just gotta say also, kudos to all of you out there that have it together and you never forget to do this, because I'm not one of those people, and I have accidentally, on more than one occasion, left my paint in my airbrush to dry, and yeah. But the first time that I did this, I thought for sure that I ruined my airbrush and I'm going to have to go buy a new one. But I did figure out how to break it down and how to clean every single piece and part, and to my surprise, I correctly got it back together and it was working like new again. So, do I recommend leaving paint to dry in your airbrush? Absolutely not. But I know it happens. It's not the end of the world. It's harder than you think to actually destroy your airbrush in this way. Now here's the bonus piece of terrible and dangerous advice I promised you. I've seen it recommended in forums, in comments, and even here on YouTube to aerosolize harmful and caustic materials such as 3D printing resin. They suggest putting liquid 3D printing resin into your airbrush cup and spraying it on your models to smooth the surfaces and gaps that occur during printing. Please do not do this. This is very hazardous to your health. It can cause serious skin, eye, and respiratory problems. Just take a look at what these MSDS documents have to say about it. Photocentric 3D says to avoid the formation and spread of mist in the air. Elegoo even says avoid breathing dust, fumes, gas, mist, vapors, and spray. So no matter what you read or have seen someone else do, please do not do this. This hobby is not worth putting your health at risk. Just don't do it, okay? Promise me that. Can you promise me you won't do that? So anyway, what airbrush advice have you heard before? Was it good advice or was it bad advice? I'm curious, so you've got to leave me some comments down below because I'd love to hear them. I think for me, the piece of advice that just irks me the most, besides the dangerous one, obviously, is that you don't need to know all of the pieces and parts of your airbrush and how they work. I don't know. I think it's important. But I actually have an oldie but a goodie video that shows the anatomy of an airbrush, and it's easy to understand, and I've gotten nothing but good feedback from it. So you can actually find that video right here. Other than that, I wish you a great day, and I'll see you over here where we're going to learn about the pieces and parts of an airbrush.